Florida. They've been doing wonderful things here in Florida for a long, long time, but they want to do things wonderfully the right way. They want to restore a part of their lives that has been removed, and they are just trying to get back into the stream of things, so to speak. I have in the studio with me right now today Pastor Clifford Tyson with the Voters' Right Restoration, and he is here with a couple of young ladies that are going to talk about the things that they have to contend with just to get their right to vote. Go ahead, Pastor.
Good afternoon. First of all, my name, as he said, is Pastor Cliff Tyson. The state of Florida, and if you don't mind, I'm going to give you just what I give them. I go into the prisons. The state of Florida recognized me as A475744. And when I say that, when I speak to other inmates, they take an ear because I've been there in the situation that they're in now. I did some time. I made some mistakes in my life. I paid my dues to society. And when I got out, I tried to do the proper way of getting my rights restored by going through the process. It took me from 2007 all the way to 2017. And even in 2017, I was told I was going to have to make sure I answered the phone when they called. Don't change my address. And when the governor called, I would have to travel to Tallahassee for a 5-minute meeting for them to decide if they were going to restore my rights back. It may sound easy, but the average inmate, when they get out, they only have less than $100. They may not even have a place to stay. So to me, that was more suppression of the voting rights. So I finally came to a point to where if I couldn't vote, I was going to encourage others to vote. Now, what's happening now is...
Are you waiting on Reverend Willie Dixon?
He can come in if he like.
Okay. Come on in, Reverend Dixon. Just come on in.
Yeah, because Reverend Dixon was one of the people who got his back. Got his rights back.
Okay. Come on in, Reverend Dixon.
And it was very important to me.
He can sit there.
That happened.
Okay.
And so, matter of fact, I remember Reverend Dixon, we used to go into the prisons together. And he can attest to you that
just
when
put him here, Reverend Dixon.
We was with A. Brown Ministries, we told these guys, everything that they're doing now
is
a modern day prison. Prisons are privatized. Right?
Privatized, yes,
and
sir.
They privatize. And they don't want... They're taking all the sugar industry is making a killing. So when I go into the institutions, I tell them that's not what we were made for.
Okay.
And so when we get out, as I've been out, Reverend Dixon been out.
Yes.
It's possible to stay out. And so when they brought these rights back, it not only had to pass, it had to pass by 64%. I had not voted for 42 years.
Wow.
Since I was at Florida A&M University.
Wow.
Reuben Askew, I think, was the governor at that time.
Okay.
So I voted the first time this year in 42 years.
And
what was amazing, when I got my rights back, and I got them back 7 to 10 years to get them back.
The people spoke.
The people spoke.
Okay.
And when the people spoke, I got up that morning, the first election, the primary, went to Cyrus Green. Proud.
Cyrus Green is a community center.
Community center.
Tampa.
Took my 5-year-old grandson and my wife because I wanted my 5-year-old grandson to be a part, to see something historical that my grandpa voted, and you carry this mantle on.
Absolutely.
And when they gave me my ballot, I literally cried. When they told me you can go to that booth there, I cried.
I can imagine.
And when they asked why you crying, my wife told them it's been 42 years.
Wow.
And I get emotional even talking about it now. And not soon after that, they came out with this, what we call a modern day poll tax.
Yes.
And this tax that's going to allow us to, they give them the right to want to take our I voted
I
rights
vote.
back
Yes.
after the people spoke.
So let me ask you this: you said that you registered to vote in 1996, 97. Give me those timelines.
My last time I voted was in 1978.
1978, and then in
2019.
Okay, but in 2005 you tried to get.
I applied,
Give me that.
I applied for my rights in 2007.
2007.
I got released from prison in 1983.
1983. Okay.
Applied for my rights in 2007.
What happened between 1983 and 2007? You just didn't. You couldn't get your rights back at that time.
Well, at one point, I think one of the governors had automatic restoration. I actually thought our rights was back when we got released.
I got you.
Right?
Okay.
And then come to find out that I had to apply.
Right.
I applied in 2007, and I thought it was just an easy process. Applied, went online, applied for clemency.
Okay.
Called and checked in 2008. They told me we're just working on cases in 2004, 5. You know, every year I call, they're like
They were 3
years
and 4 years behind.
And so finally in 2016, they called me and I called and they said, your case is in the district of field.
Okay.
At our field office. So I say, well, is that a local office? Is it someplace I can go, who I can contact? They wouldn't give me that information. They said, they'll contact you.
Okay.
All the way to 2017, same thing. They'll contact you. And so I ended up getting a traffic infraction of driving with my lights off.
Okay.
Ticket.
Gotcha.
And my lights were off. And a ticket. 3 weeks later, I get a letter from the clemency board that I was no longer eligible for my rights because of that ticket. So all those years went to naught, and I hadn't even went to court yet. So I called them, and they told me, said, well, if you get a certified court document saying that the case has been dismissed or non-processed, you still considered. Got that. Went down to circuit court. The court dismissed it because of the situation. They dismissed it.
Right.
It even hindered me from going back into the prison because they put me on the list to go to an institution, and I got a PIN number, but they denied me because of that ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things happened simultaneously.
Okay.
So, yeah, I went on. I know it sounds crazy, Reverend Dixon, but this what happened.
But you got the opportunity.
I got the opportunity to vote. Yes, sir.
And you voted in this most recent election, the mayoral and city council election.
Yes, sir.
Very, very good. Now, Reverend Dixon, if you don't mind, let me bring in Reverend Willie Dixon. Let me just tell you, he is my fraternity brother, member of Kappa Alpha Psi, but also is a man that had to have his rights restored. Reverend Dixon, you want to share your story with us?
First of all, I want to say I am A015536, a number that I got twice.
Come closer to
and,
the mic for me.
The first time when I got out, I automatically got my rights to vote. Miss Alice Ragdale. I didn't have to apply.
Okay.
But then later, I caught another case. I went back.
Okay.
And then I got this was during the time when Governor Bob Graham was there.
Okay.
And I got my rights restored without the ability to own a firearm. And what I tell most ex-offenders, if you around someone with a firearm or with a bullet, it's a law they call constructive possession of a firearm. You can get up to $15,000 fine, up to 15 years or probation, but many of them don't know that. But nevertheless,
wow.
I went before Governor Scott 2 years ago when he was governor, and he wanted to know why I wanted to have a firearm. I said, not that I want to have a firearm, but I want to have the right to own one if that's a good reason. He granted it. But that same day, so many people were denied because they don't know the law.
Right.
And they don't know. And one thing I was concerned about, they would not violate your rights if for a misdemeanor. And that's why I was looked at you funny when you say you had a traffic ticket. And a traffic ticket is a misdemeanor unless you're a habitual driver, and then they change it to a felony.
Okay.
But you got to know the law in order to circumvent these things, because when Pam Orr was supervisor of election, I got a certified letter saying, "Oh, you can't vote." So I raised so much sand. Anyway, she told me to go back, and I showed them that my rights had been restored. Then I got another certified letter that I can vote, and I have voted in every election since I've been out since 1979.
Wow.
And I would have been out this coming November for 40 years.
One thing I want to say, Reverend Dixon is right, and I do know the law, and I did have a habitual.
Okay, now.
And that's why they made it a third-degree felony.
Okay.
But my point was, I had not been convicted and went to court on that yet. When I got the letter from them, it was like, okay, we ain't got to deal with him.
Right.
Because he done got a ticket and got discharged.
But see, really, they could not do that legally, because you cannot be waived of any rights or kept from using any of your rights if you have not been convicted of a crime. It was pending.
That was my
pending.
argument.
Right.
So,
And that was my argument with
Right.
them. And, I got so frustrated in that phone call, the clemency, but they would not, they started getting to the point they wouldn't let me get through to her anymore.
I got you.
But let me share something with you. See, when Charlie Crist became governor, and through our nonprofit, the Coach Foundation, we assist people in getting their rights restored.
Right.
And I called up, and they had about 2,000 people on the waiting list.
Right.
And I wouldn't know what, but the man that I talked to, he said, yeah, but they transferred everybody. See, I'm the only person working in there. See, that's old trickology.
That's the old trick.
Oh, one guy that
One
handled
guy
2,000
that
cases.
2,000 cases.
But see, I said this because I was a paralegal in the Department of Correction. I said, why not certify some nonprofits in order to process some of these applications? I said, if we were able to file petitions for inmates who were incarcerated,
Right.
we should have the ability, to handle the application. And every institution, they can have the classification officer to do that paperwork.
Right.
But see, this is it. Governor Scott, he came in, and first of all, he did away with parole.
Mhm.
And they knew, or they assumed, that most of the voters would be Democrats.
Democrats.
So then that's when they came
Right.
and changed the law.
And changed the law.
And then, when
Yeah.
Governor Ron DeSantis, he just followed it.
He just followed
because he
suit.
wanted to get elected another term.
Absolutely. That's his political party.
But they don't know that there are just as many other folks who would vote Republican.
That's
Wow.
right.
Well, Pastor Tyson, before we come back to you, let me bring this young lady in who has a story to tell as well. Introduce yourself and tell us your story.
My name is Virginia Anderson, and I've lived in Tampa all my life. I am here to support Pastor Tyson. I do have my voting rights, and I do vote, but I have two nephews that has been, well, one is incarcerated now, and one is out, and he wants to vote, but he can't vote, and I told him he needs to register. So now I'm going to bring him in with Pastor Tyson so he can walk him through everything that he needs to know.
Okay. Does he
And-
have any restitution to pay?
Yes.
Okay.
But let me share this.
Yes, sir.
From January to June, every person had an opportunity to go and register to vote. But in Hillsborough County, less than 100 people took that opportunity. And I know we got at least 10,000 ex-offenders in this area. So we are trying to help people that won't help themselves. I told them that last night
Right.
in the Pastors on Patrol meeting. I said, why are we doing more for you than you're doing for yourself? See, they got to get off there, get on,
Right.
and do and work for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly. And see, and this is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
We still have a mindset of people who's thinking, what's the use of voting? Our votes don't count anyway.
Yes.
And I've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of it from guys who've gotten out. Oh, the electoral college say, listen, But I heard something on, I think Joe Madison said, or either he said, if voting wasn't important,
Mm-hmm.
why are they so
He'll
eager,
been on.
hell bent on
Mm-hmm.
suppressing it if it wasn't
If
important?
it wasn't important.
Right.
And so I'm speaking to my daughter in that this is a big deal for me. It may not help to start back over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 63 years old.
Right.
So I'm like, so I'll get my rights back at what, 70, 71
Wow.
through their process?
Yeah.
But I was able to get them back about 4 months after they denied me.
Yeah.
No, about a year and a half after they denied me. I'm gonna take that back.
Right.
So now you think I'm not gonna take advantage of what our people, or what, and when I say our people, the voice of the people who went out and voted to restore. You paid your dues to society. That's what they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I did my time. Worked on people's property, worked on people's street, and then I get out, and then you tell me I still owe you money. That like that's in the hood.
Right.
Reverend Dixon, let's say if I owe you $100, right? He come at his $100, but we fight for the $100, right?
Yeah.
In the hood, you ain't gonna beat me and I pay you too. Am I
Right.
correct? Ain't that how I go?
I hear you.
If, I ain't gonna come beat you, and he still owe me money. Right?
Is
And
Michelle
so my
Michelle
thing-
Williams still out there?
I think so. So my thing is
I want to
this.
try to get her in here.
My thing
I
is
see you,
this,
Ray
Brother
Hendrick.
Darrell, is we've paid our dues to society. The people voted that we can have that
I think
right.
she's still at the. If she's,
Yeah.
yeah, bring
And
her,
so-
bring her over.
Why should we have to continue to go back and count all the jelly beans in the jar? And that's basically what we're doing now.
That's where we
well,
are now.
Well, now, over in Atlanta, they found a way to allow those fines to be converted into community service.
I know. That's what I said. Hey,
Oh.
guys from Reuters, this is going to go national. They're doing a documentary on me. But because of this, I'm one of the 10 that we saw online.
Yeah, we still live. We
Okay.
live, brother.
All right, now let me say this too. Now,
Thank you, Pastor.
we need to find a
Tyson.
way. We need to
God
find a
bless.
way to motivate those who have not
Who have
registered to
not.
vote.
Yes.
You see, and those who can't vote, they
Thank
can
you.
get out and
if she has the time.
and knock on doors.
Mm-hmm.
See, because if you got 1.4 million, as they say, that cannot vote, I think they can work to help those who can vote and overturn any election, so that you get a new legislative body.
Yes.
Because see, the legislative body now, they're not going to do anything that's going to affect them. So we can change the system, but it's going to just take the people coming together as one with one voice, and know that there has been several elections that was won by one vote.
Well, the most recent election between Jeffrey Rhodes and Orlando Goods, that was a hard-fought battle. It was a good race, but it was won by less than 100 votes.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if voters, some of the felons had their voters' rights, how that could have affected, that election.
And not only that, with Hillary Clinton, she could have won.
She could have won.
But there were so many people stayed home because they didn't like her. Yeah, she did a lot of things, she and Bill, but I don't think it'll be as bad as it is now.
Oh, wow.
But I say this.
Go ahead.
Can I say this?
Yes.
45, President Trump did not invent the evilness that we see portrayed now.
True.
He just gave them a reason to come out with it because they feel protected. But we find out that people who don't look like us are killing more people that don't look like us.
Wow.
And see, and I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Because you're younger than me, you're smarter than me.
No, I don't know about
Why
that.
is it they always have a buyback, a gun buyback in the black community, they never have it in the white community? I've never heard of a buyback in the white
In
community.
the white community.
Have you?
No, quite frankly.
And see, But I say this: too many people are killing, but now we are destroying our soldiers.
Well, let me just tell you this: we don't have to kill each other because they're doing it for us.
That's right.
So these young brothers that are out here wasting their time killing somebody else, they don't have to do it. They don't even have to put themselves in that jeopardy because it's being done by, in my mind, some unscrupulous law enforcement officers. Those that are doing that, I'm beyond all the things that all the excuses that are being said that they need to do in order to not do that. It's just a mess.
And recently, very few law enforcement officers are convicted if they go before the grand jury or
Right.
the sheriff department. Then it'll be a little different.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the police officers pulling the triggers. To me, it's also the state attorneys that are processing the crime, and it's the judges that are not upholding the law or hiding behind the law. I'm just beyond all those things. Reverend Dixon, we're going to wrap it up because Reverend Tyson had to leave, and I wanted to get Michelle Williams in here. But I know she was tied up as well. I want to thank her for just involving me, getting me here as a part of the conversation with Reverend Tyson and her, Michelle Williams, one of our activists here in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm glad that you were able to come on and just briefly talk about what voting.
Joe Biden's wife will be here, but they asked me for $2,500, $500. But I could get them some votes. So I would like to get in touch with those who are working on his behalf because I think that he would be a good person to represent the people that look like us.
Wow.
And get him a female who can win because they're going to have it was 20, now it's down to 10.
Okay.
But the thing about it is we need to get these candidates to talk about issues and not about each other. And see, they giving the other party all of this dirty laundry. All they got to do is sit back. And the president, he only has one person that's thinking about running against him.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it.